Good morning, everyone. Just as the video title suggests, I'm going to show you definitive proof that Democrats intended to cheat in the 2020 election. This goes back to the HEROES Act. This was a bill that House Democrats passed earlier this year, and they advertised this as a stimulus relief bill. And while there were many provisions that did provide much needed stimulus relief to the American people, baked into the bill was many provisions that would lessen and in some capacity outright eliminate election voter security for the 2020 election. I'm going to show you the bill. I'm going to show you the plain text of the bill right here, right now, in this video. And before I do that, I just want to kind of go over a little bit of an overview of the game that Democrats play. So House Democrats passed what they advertised as a economic stimulus relief bill for the American people. And then when Senate Republicans shot it down, what do you think the Democrats said? They said Republicans are trying to block a stimulus relief bill for the American people, not mentioning all these other provisions in which eliminate voter security, which were baked into this bill. And this was the true intentions of this bill. Why? Ask yourself why. Why did they add these provisions? What good intentions could the Democrats possibly have had for adding in some of the provisions I'm about to show you? The first one that I'm going to show you was they're trying to prohibit voter identification. And ask yourself why exactly they'd want to do that. So here I'm going to show you the text of this bill right now. And you could see this is from congress.gov website. So I'm not going off any sort of news media, whether it be left or right. I'm going directly to the source and I'm showing you the plain text of the bill right here in this video. You can see this right here at the top, the HEROES Act. From Representative Loie Nita, which was a Democrat, introduced in May 12th of 2020. So the first thing I'm going to show you right here, if I could just bring up trying to go control find to go through text because the bill is hundreds of pages long. So here, let me just see. Maybe I can scroll down and I'll find it because my control find is not working. There you go. So here's the first part right here. Okay. So as you could see right here, look at this in all caps. Prohibiting identification requirement as condition of obtaining ballot. Ask yourself why. What good reason? What good reason do the Democrats have to do that? Why would they want to prohibit voter identification as a requirement for obtaining a ballot? Does that sound like a good idea? Does that sound like a party that really cares about election security? And let's go on to the next one right here. So in general, a state may impose this is for signature verification. A state may not impose signature verification requirement as condition of accepting and counting an absentee ballot submitted by any individual with respect to an election for federal office unless the state meets the due process requirement as described in paragraph 2. So once again, so far you can see right here at the top of the bill, they wanted to prohibit identification as a requirement for obtaining a ballot. And the second thing that they wanted to do is they wanted to make it where you don't have to verify signatures. So ask yourself why. Why would they not want to require voter ID? Why would they not be for signature verification? Why are they trying to strip? Why did they attempt to strip our election of different security provisions that were implemented? And scrolling down here, here's another one right here. So this was basically universal mass mail-out voting, and this is how it's described. Automatic mailing of absentee ballot to all voters if the area in which the election is held is in an area which an emergency or disaster, which is described in subparagraph A. So essentially what they're saying is coronavirus should be considered an emergency or disaster. Therefore, everyone nationwide should receive universal mass mail-out voting. And this is what this means. So every state has voter rolls, and those voter rolls are rarely updated. So on those voter rolls, nationwide, you have millions of dead people, you have millions of ineligible people, you have people that have moved out of state, you have many different reasons why they may not be eligible, but they are still on voter rolls. So Democrats want to send out universal mass mail-out voting to every single person on the voter rolls, which is an invitation to fraud. This actually happened earlier this year. I'm going to show you this story right here from Paterson, New Jersey. This was one of the many places that had tried universal mass mail-out voting for the first time, and there was so much fraud right here. Judge invalidates Paterson, New Jersey, and this is from CNN.com. So if you want to show any of your liberal friends that might discredit any source that's a Breitbart or a Fox News or an OAN News, you could show them. This is their trusted, friendly, reliable sources right here, CNN.com. Judge invalidates Paterson, New Jersey city council election after allegations of mail-in voter fraud. The entire election was thrown out because of mail-in voting fraud. And this was due to universal mass mail-out voting, which was just an invitation to mass fraud. This is what Democrats were pushing for nationwide. Moving right along here. This goes into ballot harvesting. So if you guys don't know what ballot harvesting is, this is basically when you can just have someone else take your ballot or take as many ballots as they want to. They can collect as many ballots as they choose, and then they can just drop them off. So permitting voters to designate other persons to return ballot. Shall permit a voter to designate any person to return a voted and sealed absentee ballot to the post office, a ballot drop-off location, tribally designated building, or election office, so long as the person designated to return the ballot does not receive any form of compensation based on the number of ballots that the person has returned, and no individual, group, or organization provides compensation on the basis. Okay, so may not put any limit on how many voted and sealed absentee ballots any designated person can return to the post office, a ballot drop-off location, tribally designated building, or election office. So, in other words, there is no limit. One person could bring thousands of ballots and drop them off at a voting location. And why is this problematic? Well, I'm going to show you right here. This was from a bipartisan election committee right here. Here's an article that I'm going to show you that it goes over the risks right here. You can see understanding the risk of ballot harvesting across the United States. And this is from the House Committee on Administration, which oversees federal election laws and policies. And this is how they describe ballot harvesting. The practice in which political operatives collect absentee ballots from voters' homes and drop them off at polling place or election office. It may sound pretty innocuous, but this practice can and has been abused across the country. We saw this play out in the 2018 midterm elections in North Carolina's 9th congressional district when a political operative abused the process of harvesting ballots, which resulted in North Carolina State Board of Elections to call for re-election. So once again, as you've seen, in Paterson, New Jersey, because of universal mass mail-out voting, the fraud in which occurred due to universal mass mail-out voting, they had to completely redo the election in Paterson, New Jersey. And right here you could see in the 2018 midterms in North Carolina, because of ballot harvesting, they had to redo the entire election. And House Democrats, in the HEROES Act, they wanted to get rid of both of these things. They wanted to completely allow ballot harvesting, in which they put no limit on how many ballots one person can turn in. And then they also wanted universal mass mail-out voting for the entire country. And one other thing here I'll show you, another comment. This is from the longstanding bipartisan concerns about vote by mail and ballot harvesting. Absentee ballot is vulnerable to abuse in several ways. Blank ballots mailed to wrong address or to large residential buildings might get intercepted. Citizens who voted home, at nursing homes, at the workplace, or in churches are more susceptible to pressure. This is very, very important that I wanted to bring up. So this is one of the many dangers of ballot harvesting. Someone can go to a nursing home per se, and you have all these elderly people that are suffering from all sorts of cognitive disorders, and you have someone going around helping them fill out their ballots and then turning them in. So someone can go to a nursing home, get all those people to fill out ballots, turn them in. You could do the same thing at churches. As they say, they're more susceptible to pressure, overt and subtle, or to intimidation. Vote buying schemes are far more difficult to detect when citizens vote by mail. So that's another thing too. You can pay people to vote the way that you want. And on this bill, it says you're not allowed to pay people, right? No compensation on the basis of collecting ballots. But once again, it's really hard to detect these things. So ask yourself a question. Why did Democrats want ballot harvesting? Why did they want to eliminate voter ID? Why did they want to eliminate signature verification? Why did they want universal mass mail-out voting? And then lastly, right here, this I think is just absolutely crazy. So in the absence of voter identification and signature verification, how do you know that a person is who they say they are? Well, here it is. According to Democrats, as long as you just say unequivocally that you are who you say you are, that's good enough. That's good enough for them. You could just say you are whoever you want the Democrats to think that you are, and that's good. Right here, it's right into the bill. Permitting use of sworn written statement to meet identification requirements for voting. So just a sworn written statement. I am who I say I am. I don't have any ID. I'm not going to give you any sort of signature that you can match to a signature on record, and that's good enough. So ask yourself these questions. Why? Why did Democrats, why did they want to eliminate voter ID? Why were they okay just with a sworn written statement? Think about is there anywhere else where this would possibly work? Can I go to my bank? Imagine you could just go to a bank and you could say that I am so-and-so and I'd like to make a withdrawal. I don't have my ID, but I'm going to give you a sworn written statement that I am who I say I am. I'd like to withdraw $1 million. Can you imagine this working in any other capacity, in any other institution? But they want this for our voting. They want this for an election. They want to strip voter ID. They wanted to get rid of signature authentication. They wanted universal mass mail-out voting. They wanted ballot harvesting with no cap on how many ballots one person can return. You can hit every single nursing home in the country and get all those ballots and just turn them in. So ask yourself why. Why did the Democrats want this? I would love for anyone that supported the Democrats, for any of the Biden supporters out there, please explain to me why the Democrats put these provisions in here, in this bill. Why do they want to do these things? That's my video. Hope you like it. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, and I will see you all next time.